Imagine standing on a ship, peering into the pre-dawn darkness. The year is 1915. You're a young man far from home, about to step onto a hostile shore. You were promised glory, a swift victory, a place where heroism met unimaginable horror. By 1915, World War I was a brutal deadlock. The Western Front, a line of trenches stretching across Europe, had become a meat grinder. Millions of lives were sacrificed for mere inches of mud, with no end in sight. The world desperately needed a breakthrough. Allied with Germany, controlled the Dardanelles Strait, a vital waterway out of the war. Winston Churchill, then First Lord of the Admiralty, proposed a daring plan. A naval assault would force the Dardanelles, capture Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, and secure victory. On paper it seemed brilliant, a way to bypass the Western Front's carnage. However, the initial naval assault in February and March 1915 ended in disaster. Ottoman mines and coastal artillery turned the strait into a graveyard for Allied warships. Instead of abandoning the flawed strategy, commanders made a fateful decision. If ships couldn't break through, soldiers would. The land invasion was planned for April 25th. Thousands of young men from Australia and New Zealand, eager for adventure and to prove their worth, were among the Allied forces. They were known as the ANZACs, the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. Their objective was Gaba Tepe, a wide, relatively flat beach, but in the pre-dawn darkness, currents or a critical navigational error pushed their landing craft miles north. They found themselves at a narrow, treacherous strip of land surrounded by steep cliffs, Anzac Cove. As the boats grounded, chaos erupted. The Ottoman defenders, led by the brilliant Lieutenant Colonel Mustafa Kemal, who would later become Ataturk, founder of modern Turkey, were ready. They held the high ground, their machine guns poised. Private Ellis Silas vividly described the scene. The incessant roar of the guns, the whiz of bullets, men falling all around me. The Anzacs faced a storm of fire, scrambling onto the beach under relentless attack. More than 2,000 fell on that first day alone. Despite the horrific casualties, small groups of Anzacs clawed their way up the cliffs, establishing a fragile beachhead. But the quick victory they'd been promised vanished. They were trapped, pinned against the sea. Gallipoli quickly devolved into the very nightmare it was meant to avoid: trench warfare. Here the lines were terrifyingly close, sometimes mere yards apart. Soldiers could hear the enemy cough, talk, even cook. Death was a constant, intimate companion. Life in the Gallipoli trenches was beyond miserable. The scorching summer sun beat down, turning the peninsula into a dust bowl. Water was scarce, often tainted with fuel from storage cans, leading to agonizing thirst. Flies swarmed everywhere, over food, open wounds, and the unburied dead. Disease became a more lethal enemy than bullets. Dysentery, typhoid, and infections spread unchecked through the cramped, unsanitary trenches, decimating ranks. Yet even in this hell, fragments of humanity endured. Brief, unofficial truces sometimes allowed both sides to collect their dead. Soldiers occasionally traded cigarettes or shared a moment of quiet understanding across the deadly no-man's land. Diaries from both sides speak of the shared suffering, the endless hunger, exhaustion, and the constant psychological toll of shellfire. It was a testament to the human spirit's resilience, even in the face of unimaginable brutality. By August, with the campaign stalled, the Allies launched a massive, desperate offensive. The goal was to break out of the beachheads and seize the strategic heights. Thousands more men were thrown into the fray. However, poor coordination, fierce Ottoman resistance, and the sheer difficulty of the terrain doomed the attack. It failed catastrophically, resulting in thousands more casualties. The Anzacs, and indeed all Allied soldiers, began to realize the grim truth. They weren't fighting to win, they were fighting simply to survive. By late 1915, the campaign was undeniably hopeless. Winter brought freezing rains and snow, adding to the soldiers' misery. Commanders finally ordered an evacuation, but how do you remove 80,000 men from under the enemy's nose without incurring massive losses? The Anzacs devised an ingenious plan of deception. They built drip rifles, devices where cans of water slowly emptied, triggering a rifle to fire at random intervals, convincing the Ottomans the trenches were still manned. Marches were staged to look like routine troop rotations. Under the cover of darkness, men wrapped their boots in cloth to muffle their footsteps, moving like ghosts to waiting boats. Equipment was left behind, booby-trapped or destroyed. The silence was deafening, the tension unbearable. By dawn on December 20th, 1915, the last soldiers had slipped away. When the Ottomans advanced, expecting a final slaughter, they found only empty trenches. The evacuation was a flawless masterpiece of military deception, the only true success of the entire Gallipoli campaign. Gallipoli was a strategic disaster. It achieved nothing but immense suffering. 500,000 men, Allied and Ottoman, were killed, wounded, or fell victim to disease. For the Ottoman Empire, it was a proud defense of their homeland, and it forged the legend of Mustafa Kemal, who would later lead Turkey to independence. For Australia and New Zealand, Gallipoli became something profoundly different, a crucible of national identity. Though defeated, their soldiers had proven extraordinary courage, resilience, and mateship. The Anzac spirit was born, a legacy of bravery and sacrifice that continues to define these nations. Today, Gallipoli is a quiet, poignant place of memorials. The scars of trenches are softened by time, but the memory remains vivid. Every April 25th on Anzac Day, Australia and New Zealand pause to honor those who never returned, and those who did, forever changed. They were sent to die, but in their sacrifice, they forged legends that endure more than a century later. This was Gallipoli, a story of courage, futility, and the enduring human spirit. If you believe these powerful stories must be remembered and shared, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our next historical deep dive. And tell us in the comments below, which forgotten battle or historical event should we bring to life next? This is History Replay, this day.